It's time for episode 388 of the 3 Point Podcast, and we're presented, as always, by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Get in shape with a membership. Participate in the new 2026 Wellness Challenge. That's 4 8-week wellness challenges with big prizes beginning January 7th. Follow the Wellness Center on Facebook and download the center on their app. Get their app on your phone. Also, we want to thank our other great partners. They include AZee Branding Solutions, Kori Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Nichols Painting, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, the Shiawassee County Fair, and ALS of Michigan. Also, our sponsor spotlight for today, Jacobs Insurance Agency, locally owned and operated, who live and work in this area. They offer a wide variety of policies for home, businesses, and vehicles. Proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight that we'll get to a little bit later. More details you can find online at jacobsinsurance.com. Well, little catch up here. We got a good catch up segment, I think, because we recap a little bit of highlights from Thanksgiving and J-Rod's big move to Houston, Texas.
He's a Texan now. And yeah, when we were texting about, lining up when we're going to record, now we've got someone in a different time zone. So we're going to have to, that's going to be another, not just juggling our work schedules and Ted's retirement schedule, but now we're in a different time zone too.
I'm loving the extra hour. I can't wait for come college football and come NFL football where Lions are now at noon. And then I don't know how I'm going to watch the Lions. That is, you know what? That'll be a good test of my fandom if I even get Sunday ticket. If I just say, screw it, I'm done watching this crummy team. But the extra hour is big time. I mean, when we record at night, now it's an hour earlier. When we record in the morning, it's like fresh out of bed. That's the only maybe bummers. I got to wake up a little bit early for the morning recordings, but other than that, man, I love the extra hour.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit before, but you made the drive. You guys made the drive, but you have movers with all your stuff. But I know Michigan got hit with quite a snowstorm not just Michigan, the Midwest. Did you guys skip that? Did you miss the snow? Or did you get caught up?
So what we did, we delayed ourselves till we were going to leave first thing this past Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. Then we got hammered with snow, starting with the Michigan-Ohio State game, which we'll get to. And so I said, all right, let's delay it. Let's just go Monday morning. And then we got all packed up on Sunday at about 3:00. And we're like looking around the apartments, you're talking, it's echoing throughout the walls. There's literally there's an air mattress in there. I'm like, dude, let's just hit the road. Like, this is gonna be a miserable night. We might as well just go hit the road. And so we did that. And we finally made it here 17 hours later, stopped overnight in a hotel in Arkansas for 3-4 hours, got a little bit of sleep and hit the road again. But it's funny, I mentioned the moving company last week. So similar to your kind of Kobe Bryant, ticket that you bought and you got scammed. So so the moving company. So when I first booked it, so it's Frontier Moving Solutions. If you want to give it a Google, your eyes will bulge out of your head with the reviews. It was the most obvious scam I've ever seen. So when I booked it, I have a personality type that's good and bad, I guess. I just will do whatever is the easiest thing. Just get it over with. If I can solve it, in the next 5 minutes and it costs me an extra $100 or whatever, I'll just do it and be done with it. So when I went to rent a U-Haul initially, Thursday before we left, basically when I Googled that, how do I didn't know if you could even rent a U-Haul and take it across country. I didn't know what the rules are. Can I take it and leave it in Texas? I don't know. So when I looked that up, it said basically all the first 3 results that came up on Google are no, don't get a U-Haul, get a moving company. And then there's a site that says, oh, here, type in your move details and we'll give you quotes, from all these different places. All right, I'll just do that. Type in the quotes. Literally, it's I hit enter, I get a phone call. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is how easy it rolls. Yep. Get a phone call. I'm talking to this guy. And it's I felt so dumb. Somebody who's a salesman, like Ted or something like that, would probably understand these predatory tactics he's using. Tell me if you do any of this, Ted, where, we just sent you the quote, he's going through all these, discounts. Oh, do you have a veteran in the family? Well, my grandpa was, but he passed away. Oh no, we'll throw it on there. Did you graduate college recently? I'm yeah, 3-4 years ago. All right, throw it in there. He's just rattling off 80 different discounts, probably $3 a pop every discount. So then finally he gets it booked, and he's like, "Yep, it's gonna be $2,100." I'm like, I kind of hear it. I'm like, that sounds low. So this guy's a very friendly guy. His name was Ryan. I still remember his name. Very friendly. All right, that sounds like a good deal. I'll just do that. A U-Haul is probably going to cost me $1,600 plus all the gas I would use to fill it up. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. So he's like, all right, well, like, here, I'll send you a quote. And I'm like, all right, well, why don't you just email it to me and then I'll sign it and get back to you. He's like, hold on, let me talk to my boss and let me see if I get the price down, because usually when we let people go, like they don't call us back. So I like, so,
That's
I
not a
mean,
good sign.
again, my spider senses are up on this guy, but I'm just like, I just want to get this goddamn thing over with. You realize, like, who the hell comes up with a moving scam, and you kind of realize how brilliant it is. So I'm like, fine, all right. He comes back, oh yeah, we knocked off $300 on the price. All right, let's do it. Like, all right, he's emailed me, stay on the phone, like as I'm signing this crap. Like, yep, sign there, sign here, sign there. So I did it all. I'm like, all right, done. So then I go home, and it was actually my mother-in-law who kind of brought it to my attention. She's like, yeah, I looked up that company you booked through. Like, it's like a broker, and man, the reviews are horrible. And like, I'll be honest, the first thought I had when I heard that, I was like, you look up any company, the reviews are going to be horrible. I don't care what it is. Like, oh, they crushed my boxes. So I didn't really think about it for a couple of days, and then I get a call, and they go, basically they're like going line by line every item I have. Like, I basically, on this initial phone call with Ryan, I was like, yeah, I got 10 boxes, a bed and TV stand, TV, all this crap. So then they called me back, and it's this lady, and she's like going line by line of like everything I have. Oh, you have actually 13 boxes, not 10. Oh, this is why we do this. You have I have like a little wire rack that you can like basically you get like from Lowe's for like $40. Like, oh, you have that. Like, oh, okay, that's good to know. You have 2 lamps. Like, this one, I'm in the middle of work in like the busiest week of my life, like finishing up at FanDuel, and I'm on the phone with this lady for 40 minutes going item by item. At the end she goes, oh well, we had you slated for 300 square feet. Now it's like, sounds like it's like 350. So let me like retabulate your total. I'm like, okay, well, how about this? I'll take apart the wired cabinet. I'll do this. I'm like realizing this is a scam in the middle of this call. So I'm like, all right, so you know what? Like, fine. Like, all right. So, okay, we can get you down to 314 square feet. I'm like, what even is this? Do you have a truck or not? Like, what, 314, 318? Like, it's so dumb. Like, what are they talking about? So then, all right, we got to send a new contract fee to sign. Like, it's gonna be like $300 more. Okay, I'm like, all right, yeah, go ahead and send it. I'm like, literally, like, I'm not a jerk to customer or to like customer service type people, but like, I seriously was being, an a-hole to this lady. Like, all right, like, what other prices are you gonna gouge me on? Like, I'm just realizing in real time, I got pulled one over, right? So finally, they send it back. I go home that night. This is like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's like 7 or 8 p.m. I'm like, I like play video games for a little bit, and then I'm like, it just was like kind of, I couldn't get it out of my brain. I got scammed. I gotta cancel this thing. Because I'm realizing like what they're gonna do. I'm reading reviews. Oh, they take your stuff, then they upcharge you like double the price while they have your stuff in the truck, and then you're not getting it back until you pay.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is a perfect scam. The second they have my stuff, I'm screwed. They can do whatever they want with me, charge me whatever they want. So I'm like, dude, I just got to cancel this thing. So I called him in the morning, and sure enough, to cancel, it's like, oh, let me transfer you to this person. Let me transfer you to this person. Let me transfer you to this. I'm like, just cancel the goddamn thing. I'm done. And my last line I said to these people, I had to pay $500 deposit, man. It was out. I just lost $500. Finally, I'm like, just cancel. And this lady's like, why would you cancel? Like, we got you all lined up. I'm like, listen, I'm not even mad at you. I'm like kind of calm at this point. I'm not even mad at you. I'm mad at myself that I was this goddamn dumb to fall for this. So finally, they get it canceled. I'm getting half of the refund on the deposit back. So $1,000 deposit, I'm getting $500 back. We'll believe it when I see that 500. And that's where I'm at. So then finally got the U-Haul, hit the road. It was the thing about hitting the road was, it was funny seeing all these places like that you hear about, like, like college football. It's funny. That was my first thought. I'm going over the Red River. I'm going over the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River was pretty awesome through Memphis. But when I got to Texas, it's like, dude, I was like kind of questioning my life decisions. Like, holy hell, this is hell. This is literally hell. Construction everywhere. It's a downpour, muddy. Like these gas stations are like the worst gas stations you've ever seen in your life. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrible. Finally, we get like within like an hour of Houston. I'm like, okay, this looks nice. Then I get to Houston. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But my god, that first like 3 hours in Texas, it was literally hell on earth. I don't know how else to explain it. It looked like the worst part of land anybody could ever live in. But yeah, we made it. So that kind of takes us to now.
So you ended up finding a legitimate mover.
I just did a U-Haul. I just rented a U-Haul and loaded it up myself, man. I realized I'm done with this. Like, I don't care if I have to sit in a U-Haul for 17 hours, we're really like 21 hours. I got to do this myself. I'm not trusting anybody else. Like, I got pulled one over. I'm not paying another $4,000 to have somebody else do it. Should have just stuck with my gut at the start, which was just do a U-Haul and do it that way. But got suckered in by that salesman, man. So yeah,
So
so
who
I just did a
drove?
U-Haul.
You drove the U-Haul. Girlfriend drove the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, to be honest with you, I am a salesman, and I am completely opposite spectrum. I've always my whole reputation was built on trust and customer service, but
honesty.
You're not a scam.
Not a scammer. But I will say this, and it's a kind of a saying out there: don't try to sell a salesman. Don't try to sell a salesman. They know enough. Because one of my most fun times was going to Florida and sitting through a timeshare presentation.
Oh, yeah.
My wife wanted to do it, and it was free, 3 free nights at a nice resort and tickets. And I won't go into the whole story.
Right.
I mean, it was amazing to me to see how these people operated. They bring you in, you get breakfast, and they have a nice salesperson talking to you, and she goes through the whole spiel and gives you the whole tour of the facility. And you come back, and my wife and I both were 100% on the same page. We're not doing it. We're just getting free tickets.
We just want the free stuff. Yeah.
But they push you, man. The first salesperson says, "Well, you're not going to do it." No,
right.
Well, I have to have management come over. And they have these mafia guys walking all around the place, with their big suspenders and stuff, trying to intimidate you.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, I get it, man. Some of these sales techniques are just crazy.
Because you got to think how many people eventually at those things, they fold and they're like, fine, just sign me up for the package. I'll pay. I just want to get out of here. It probably works on a lot of people.
100%, Matt, because what they do is I went through 3 different connotations of people coming to me. I have to go to management. I have to go to my manager.
Exactly.
They finally come to you and give you a package that actually sounds somewhat appealing.
Right.
It's nice, and it does sound okay. Finally, at that point, though, I was like Jared. I was probably a little bit more rude at the last guy, because I said, "Listen, what part of no don't you understand?"
Right.
So they said, "Okay, so go to the front desk." Go to the front desk. They said, "Hey, you want to sit through another presentation? We'll give you $250 cash." It's never ending.
It's crazy, and that's where it's a lesson learned, man. I mean, who would have freaking known there's a moving scam? It's brilliant when you think about it, but like, who comes up with this crap? I don't get it, man. But yeah, you were a bit more experienced and obviously smart with that type of thing. Now, again, my spidey senses were just going off, but I was just like, just get it over with. Like, I didn't. I was naive in thinking that somebody would have a racket like that.
Yeah,
and it burned me.
Sometimes it goes to show. I mean, you want to, excuse me, you want to support small businesses. You want to support the mom and pops. You want to support the people who are maybe up and coming. All those kind of things. But sometimes it just goes to show you just go with the reputable businesses. If you're going with the mover, go with U-Haul. Go with Hertz, or whatever. Go with the budget company. The budget company.
2 men in a truck.
Right, 2 men in a truck. Because I'm surprised you didn't look at the reviews a little bit, because sometimes you take the reviews with a grain of salt, but when you go to a company like that and all of the reviews are talking about scam, this, that's the immediate like, maybe I'll call around a little bit, Well, and so that's always the one thing I think about.
And that's when I was reading the contract, and again, like it's smart how they do it. Second you hit this quote, we're calling your phone, and we're like lining this up. Which to me, I'm like,
and they don't
let's get
stop.
this done in the next 5 minutes. I'll be done with it.
Right.
But then I'm like reading this contract. It's like, it's another $100 per every extra 50 feet they have to walk from the truck to your. I'm like, dude, I'm on apartment 300, like floor 3. I'm like, this is gonna be like $600 just them having to walk an extra 50 feet. Then it's like, every extra stair they have to walk, every extra 10 steps is another $100 per step. What? Like, this is literally gonna be like $80 million. I'm like, I was doing this is Wednesday night before Thanksgiving at like midnight. I'm going through this contract, just like maybe the most mad I've ever been in my life, realizing what I've done, and nowhere because they're not at work, so just nothing to air out my grievances, just stuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, we finally got it figured out. Again, lesson learned, $500 gone. That sucks. But sports gambling is not legal here. So that's kind of where I'm viewing it. It's like, oh, well, I'm done gambling forever. That's where I make that money back. So
there you go.
Well, you'll just, instead of like people, like I know I messaged you guys before it became legal down here in North Carolina. I messaged you guys to place a couple bets for me a while back.
Oh yeah.
You'll have to be messaging Uncle Ted and saying,
yeah,
put $5 on the Lions for me, or whatever you want to do.
you talk about throwing money on fire. That's a bet. You just let your money on fire betting on the Lions, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
save that thought. I will say this though. I'm glad you made it to Houston, young man. Did it have a damper? It sounds like it was all kinds of bullshit on Wednesday. Did it damper your Thanksgiving at all?
Thanksgiving was good. That was honestly the toughest part of leaving was Thanksgiving. Like seeing it was kind of the timing of it, seeing everybody right before you left, like literally like a day before you leave. That was kind of brutal. I almost cried like 10 different times. I felt kind of like a baby. Like I almost cried when I left my aunt's house. Almost cried when left my mother-in-law's, Thanksgiving house. Almost cried when I said bye to my parents. Like it sucked. That sucked. But then the second you got away from it, like a day later, I'm like, it's fine. Like it doesn't feel any different now that I'm here. It definitely was a bittersweet Thanksgiving in that sense. Like, all right, we'll see you in April. It's like, that's kind of crazy to like when you think about it, but yeah, so that part sucked, but it was still a good Thanksgiving.
Right. And the big thing is, I mean, like, yeah, you've already got a trip back planned in a few months, so you can look forward to that, and that'll be here before you know it. But I always think too, I mean, we talk about, sometimes technology and the way the world has gone with some certain things, maybe not a good thing, but the technology with like FaceTime and stuff like that is a good thing. Like we've talked about, it's a good way to stay in touch with our family back in different states, doing the FaceTime. And
stuff. This podcast for Matt, your family, and Jared now moving forward, every week they'll be able to hear from you and see if they want to watch on YouTube. So that's a good thing as well. Yeah. I got one thing about Thanksgiving. I mean, it was a great get together. My sister does a great job putting it all together, her and her husband, Joe. But I was under the weather. I mean, I had every year I get a cold right at the beginning of the season usually. And this one, ironically enough, it started about 5 days beforehand, but the day of Thanksgiving, my nose and sinus were so caked and like cement. I couldn't taste any of the great food. I had a hard time talking to people because I couldn't breathe, So as I told Matt off air, it's probably the third time in my life and all the Thanksgiving events I've been to that I've been under the weather and sick. I remember one time at my Aunt Gloria's, just sicker than a dog. I spent the whole time laying out of bed upstairs in her house in Lapeer. Didn't get to do anything. It was just brutal. Have you guys had those experiences in holidays or get-togethers with families that you're just completely out of it?
I can't think of necessarily. I mean, I definitely remember being pretty hungover at.
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving.
Right, that's a little different. But no, I can't think of like kind of what you're describing, like a completely knocked out from a cold. But if there's one, I mean, any holiday you don't want to be sick. But if there's one holiday that you don't want to be sick, where that kind of sickness where you can't taste. It's Thanksgiving. I mean, you want to have all that food. I mean, yeah, you're probably sitting there eating it, and it's just almost depressing because you're just eating, and you're like, this isn't even enjoyable. I mean, I'm not even enjoying this, but yeah, that's no fun.
No, I've never had it happen to me where I've been sick on like a Christmas or a Thanksgiving. I'm trying to think like even like a 4th of July or anything like that. Yeah. No, I feel like I've lucked out in that regard. Knock on wood. I've never had to deal with that. That would be horrible.
I do think the thing that happens more than anything is, like you said, Thanksgiving hangover. The big Wednesday night get together with your bros. I got one generational thing before we get into some sports, and it relates back to Thanksgiving. And what your guys' opinions on this? My sister, they couldn't find a corkscrew. There was some of the people that were there wanted to drink some wine, couldn't find a corkscrew. And this is Thanksgiving, around noon, whatever. What would you do if you didn't have a corkscrew? Any idea what you would do? Would you hop in the car? Would you go to a neighbor's?
I mean, you could. Sometimes you throw. Sometimes in this catch-up portion, you throw some wild questions at us that
I do.
Like, man,
intentionally
I wasn't prepared. What would I do? I mean, I guess my first thought would be, just because of where I live, we have store. I mean, we have stores all over the place right next. So my first thought would be, let me just run to Target or let me just run to the store real quick. But on Thanksgiving, I don't know if some of those stores are open on Thanksgiving. It's different now. Everything used to be closed on Thanksgiving, but that's not the case anymore. So that would be my first thought. Let me just run up to Target real quick,
Right.
But I know it used to be, neighbor, you'd be like, hey, let's run over, see if the neighbor's got one. So,
right. And they live in an area where they have neighbors right next door.
Right.
I'm throwing this out there. I'm going to keep it anonymous, but here's what happened. One of the people at our get together, a wine drinker, decided to do a DoorDash and call DoorDash to pick up and bring a corkscrew. That is definitely a generational thing, isn't it? I mean, I have no idea what DoorDash cost. I would never in a million years do something like that at my age group. Is that kind of clever?
Yeah,
is that a good thing?
Oh, well, yeah.
It didn't work. So, because DoorDash in like in Owasso is literally like, I've never heard of anybody actually using that and it working. So no, I think they had to end up picking it up anyway.
Right.
It was a unique thought. It was worth a try. I would be curious if they had a cancellation cost or if nothing happened to it. Because what happens is you book it and then it's like the time just keeps getting longer and longer. It's not gonna be here for 10 minutes, it's not gonna be here for 20 minutes, then 30 minutes. And screw it, they're never coming. So no, that wouldn't have been my first thought, but I'll be honest, if you were saying you're gonna go over to the neighbor's house, I really wouldn't do that either.
Okay.
That's like, oh, I'm barging in on Thanksgiving. Oh, you got a corkscrew. Like they wouldn't care, but I would just go up to whatever the closest store is. You got to do it. Gas station. I mean, liquor store. Those places are somehow open every day. It seems like so.
Well, that's where I bring up the generational thing, because in my world, which I'm not saying it's bad, good, or indifferent, but I would never in a million years have thought of doing something like that. Number one, it's just like when you go to like some people go to a coffee shop every day and spend $4 or $5 for coffee. I couldn't even imagine that. Now, I'm not a real cheapskate, but I understand the value of money. But I'm just curious, how much does DoorDash cost typically for something like that?
That's the thing. I mean, when you add up the four, when you buy that one coffee, $4 or $5, you're like, that's not bad. But if you do it 4 or 5 times a week, times 52 weeks, you add it up, it's like, man, I'm spending quite a bit of money here.
Right.
That's one thing, like, some of these services like DoorDash or Uber Eats, whatever service you use, or even like Airbnb, people are starting to actually like go back on them because of all the fees and taxes and everything like that. Like people, I don't use them that much because of that. I'd rather just drive over if I'm going to pick something up and pick it up. But sometimes at work, we don't have time. So people will use those services and they're like, I just got an $8 sandwich from Jimmy John's and the delivery fee was $9 and the taxes were $3. And so it's like, I'm spending $24 for an $8 sandwich from Jimmy John's. Like this makes no sense.
Right.
I mean, like Jimmy John's has their own delivery service, but that's just like an example.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I've just same with like Airbnb. People are like, all these fees and taxes are making these prices a little out of control. So yeah, I mean, it's something to think about. I'm going to guess that it was one of the younger people at your guys' family. Yeah, we can keep it anonymous, but probably
that was Jared's generation for sure.
Right. I know there are a couple tricks, like you can use a knife and use a knife. I've seen people like you can like heat up. This would have been a fun science project. You can like heat up the neck of the wine bottle, and that like makes the cork expand and it'll pop out. So there's some other stuff like that, but.
It's crazy. I mean, to answer, your brain would explode if you saw the price on these DoorDash deliveries. I think you almost got to do it because that would be a fun catch-up segment for 10, 12 minutes. You just complaining about how much it costs. We could burn like 20 minutes of podcast material just on that.
Yeah, and again, I'm not.
If you did it out to where you live, Lake Manitou, I mean, the delivery fee would be $25.
Well, our food's gonna be here 2 hours from Detroit.
Right.
That's
our extent is pizza delivery, right? Hey, we get Main Street delivered out here, and it's it's worth the tip, but it's not anything exorbitant. I mean,
it's impressive that Main Street delivers out there. That's a little bit of a drive for Main Street.
Yeah, we love.
I remember where I grew up. I mean, it's not like a far drive, but it's
pretty similar to where we live, though. Really, where you used to live on Grand River, right?
Right. Yeah. So not too much farther or whatever. But I remember a lot of places wouldn't deliver. We would call around. They'd be like, what's your address again? Oh yeah, we don't deliver there. So we had like the 1 or 2 go-tos that we'd have to order from.
Well, the whole reason I brought it up, just because we are the 3-generational thing here, and there'll be people my age going, "Yeah, Ted, rock on." They don't know what they're doing. I'm not criticizing the person that did it. I just thought it was kind of comical. My wife and I both said, "Really, DoorDash?"
How about this? Devil's advocate. Let's just play this scenario out.
All right.
I know you hate our family. I'm just kidding. You hate our camping trip. I'm just joking. Maybe this person loves our family so much they couldn't fathom having to leave for 20 minutes to go get a corkscrew. They said, "You know what? I'll pay $10 to have it delivered. I wanted to leave this couch. I wanted to leave, the great company that is our family, and it'll be delivered here." What would you say to that response?
I would say that is a great argument, Jared. Very well done.
There you go. There you go. That's what I would say.
I'll give you that right there.
I wonder if that person hopped on Amazon quick, because sometimes you can get that same day delivery on Amazon. That might have been a little later. But.
Well, interesting discussion, but let's get into some sports. We'll leave that on a good positive note there. Let's take a little break and see what is on our mind in the world of sports. All right, I'm just going to say it. Open it up for you guys. Michigan, Ohio State. Let's start there. Okay, Ohio State finally got the monkey off their back. Took care of the Wolverines down at the big house. What are we thinking?
I'm so done with this team. I mean, listen, I had a whole take written out with notes from a couple weeks ago where I was saying the fact that this Michigan team was on the precipice of a college football playoff berth made me rethink the entire format, everything about it. This team is not good. Anytime they played anybody with a pulse, they lost.
Yep.
This game was what's so frustrating about it, and this is what's been frustrating about this team in each of these 3 losses this year. And even when they win, it was like their entire game plan was pray for an Ohio State meltdown. And if Ohio State didn't melt down like they did last year, they were just going to be comfortable losing by 14. No chances down the field, no shots, no creativity in the play calling whatsoever. Julian saying all day to throw, but yet also Jeremiah Smith's in single coverage all game. I don't understand how they're not getting any pressure, but he's also in single coverage. It's like watching the Lions in Hutch, on Saturdays now. I am so over this program. I've been over this program. Get rid of Sherrone Moore. I don't even care if he wins a national championship, man. The mega cringe. So I was at the game. The mega cringe I felt when I watched the video of him leading the linemen out of the tunnel, doing some dumb chant. What are they doing?
Right.
Then he's leading them out like he's Dabo Swinney. You know the thing about Dabo Swinney and leading Clemson out? He wins national championships. Right. You can deal with that when you're winning. When you're horrible, which is what I think Michigan is, and I don't see them getting much better next year. We'll talk about that maybe at the end. Him running to the student section and screaming "Let's go" as loud as he can 50 different times, shoulder bumping everybody, literally like he's playing for the Detroit Lions and he's offensive lineman. I hate how he operates. Right. The offense is so damn boring. The defense isn't much better. I mean, my God, can we get a pass rush? It's crazy. It's right. Crazy how unaffected Julian Sand was with the weather, with the fact that we couldn't get any pressure on him whatsoever. I'm over it. I'm done with it. And let's start there. Let's have a Bryce Underwood conversation in a second. You guys might push back on that, but go ahead.
Well, I'm not. So let's go a little positive here. Let's try to spin it a little positive because I'm mostly with you. But let's try and spin it a little positive. Youngest team in the Big Ten. Across the offensive line, basically all freshmen on the offensive line. You mentioned Bryce Underwood, true freshman. We all know that. Turned 18 basically right before the season. Young, bunch of injuries. You have to think. I mean, Jordan Marshall, the first quarter, you could see he was maybe going to have some success, but he had a bum shoulder. And you have to even think, what if Justice Haynes was in there, who's really the starting running back over Jordan Marshall? I'm not trying to make excuses, but you got to think man, if our running backs were fully healthy, we might have had a little bit of a shot. Injuries in defense too. So, I'm trying to spin it a little positive, youngest team in the Big Ten. You have to think a full off season. These guys got a ton of experience this year. Maybe that will help going into next year. The big one is Bryce Underwood, of course. That's maybe all right. And they did win 9 games this year, but right, like you said, the 3 games they lost were against the only basically 3 good teams they played, and they looked absolutely horrible in those 3 games. So that's a little disappointing. but they won 9 games. Say they win a bowl game, get to 10 wins. Cool. You try and say this is a positive young team, positive. Sherrone Moore somehow, maybe it's just NIL. He's crushing it in the recruiting trail. So that's all the like positive. Like, you try and be like, all right, cool. He's figuring some stuff out. He's still crushing it recruiting. He's probably going to land some dudes in the transfer portal too. That's the positive spin into next year. Outside of that, I'm with you. You're not going to fire him. First of all, you're not firing him because of everything we just said, and because of the coaching landscape in college football. I mean, Penn State maybe jumped the gun firing James Franklin a little bit because they're left. They don't have a coach right now. The BYU coach is telling them no, and every other team has basically filled their spot. So you're not firing Sherrone Moore. Excuse me, but you have to say something has to change because this offense looks like it's stuck in 1960. And you can make the excuse that maybe Bryce Underwood, because he's a freshman, he's still growing or whatever. At this point, he's not a freshman. He got on campus like last December.
Right.
He's been at Michigan a full year. This was the 12th game of the regular season. He's not a freshman at this point. You can say Ohio State's defense is the best in the country. Okay, but you got to at least try some stuff. Andrew Marsh was the best receiver in the Big Ten the last 3-4 games. He didn't even have a target until the fourth quarter, and it's like, is that on Bryce Underwood? Is that the play calling? I don't know. Sorry. So this is a long way of me saying, I'm trying to stay a little positive and not what did the kids say? Crash out, trying not to crash out. Like I was doing Saturday watching that game, trying to spin a little positive, but honestly, I think next year is a hot seat. Next year is you got to make the playoff. You gotta make the playoff next year, or it might be time to go.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate the positive spin on it, and I try most of the time to have the glass half full, but it was tough to see that game. And to be honest with you, let's get into the Underwood thing a little bit. I understand he's a freshman, but he came out of high school, number 1 high school quarterback available for everybody, and Michigan got him. And I watched him all season long. He had some bright spots, but he had some terrible throws too. And it wasn't all on him because the play calling was ridiculous.
It's so bad.
Why don't you let that guy run? Why don't you, mix it up? I mean, they kept a harness on him. And then the other thing, watching him, it's always the eye test. He still has to figure out how to feather the ball on short passes. He's just throwing rockets every single pass.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to wonder, I know last year, Sherrone's first full year as coach, the quarterback room just wasn't obviously very good, but there wasn't much development because even, by the end of the year, there was nothing in the pass game. And you would think by the end of the year, they'd at least have a little something, even with Davis Warren, even with, a walk-on quarterback, there wasn't any development. And you honestly have to question who is developed. A lot of it's on Bryce Underwood. He has to put the work in. He has to develop himself. But you have to wonder, who is his quarterback's coach? Jim Harbaugh's not there. Who is helping Bryce Underwood learn how to read a defense, learn how to go through progressions, learn how to do those RPOs, properly? Who is doing that for him? Because right now, I don't know if Sherrone Moore has shown that he can do that as a head coach, and that would be, Bryce Underwood, when he was committed to LSU, he himself in an interview said, Michigan doesn't develop quarterbacks like LSU does. That's why he was going to LSU. He may have just been, playing to the crowd or whatever, but he said it, and we all love JJ McCarthy because what he did at Michigan, but we're kind of seeing maybe his development wasn't all that great with, I'm not giving up on him in the NFL. He's still young, but he's not looking so good in the NFL right now. So you have to kind of wonder, what's going on. And part of it to me, I'm not going 100% on play calling. It is the play calling. It's Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator's fault. I'm not saying that, but they're not letting him develop. They're not sometimes it's almost like throw him into the fire. Go out and have a game where you throw it 35 times. And if he throws 3 interceptions, all right. But at least you're giving the kid a chance to throw, roll out, go on the move, do some design runs. Like you said, Ted, give him a chance. When you're Sherrone Moore and you're just nope, we're Michigan. We're going to ground and pound. We're going to ground and pound. How is the quarterback going to develop? You look at even Maryland, when we play Maryland, they have the freshman quarterback and they throw the ball. You got to think that's helping him. At some point, let the kid throw so he can learn and grow.
I know it's I don't know. To me, it's like a chicken or the egg. Is he bad because of the play calling, or is he bad, or is the play calling bad because he's so limited?
Right.
Because I go back and forth. It's like, man, I mean, he had a whole year to really like pop, and he never really did. I mean, well, his best game was like Northwestern, and even in that, he had 2 of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And then you go to this Ohio State game. I mean, we thought Davis Warren was bad. Davis Warren had the same stat line as Bryce did yesterday. And like that's Davis Warren. Where you if you did a like a blind test of those 2 stat lines, you really wouldn't know. I think Davis Warren had 1 more interception than Bryce did in the Ohio State game, with not nearly the same offensive weapons that Bryce had this year. So to me, I don't. Here's where I'm standing on Bryce. If Bryce Underwood was getting developed by Nick Saban with Lane Kiffin as the offensive coordinator, probably looks totally different.
Steve Sarkisian or something.
This is the staff he has, and under this current staff, he's going to be a bust.
Yeah.
It might change if we get new coaches in there, or if he jumps ship to Ole Miss or something like that, or LSU now.
Right.
Tell me that wouldn't make sense if he went to LSU.
Wow.
But to me, with what I'm seeing right now, he seems like he's predetermining everything.
Right.
He's checking. He's almost seems, I've been there before, man. You're petrified in the pocket. He's just checking down, not even looking downfield at the end of that game. Like Ted said, just lasering balls, like no touch. But man, then I'm seeing highlights of that first touchdown pass, because somebody was, joke, like some State fan said, oh, like the first call, like when he threw his first touchdown pass to Klein, like on a, out and up against the first game in New Mexico or whatever. They go first touchdown of many. And then you look back, what did he have this year? 9 touchdowns, like 2 touchdowns over the last 5 games. Unreal. He didn't look better at the end of the year than his best game really was probably his first game.
Yeah.
And that's
Maryland,
concerning, man.
Well,
yeah. And so to me, I think his development's not there. So I don't want to fault him too much. I mean, he's coming from Belleville, man, where he had Connor Stallions step in and coach him like just off the bench for the end of his career there. It's like he wasn't getting coaching there. He's not getting proper coaching here. It's a 1930s offense. I don't know if freaking Tom Brady could succeed in this offense with what I'm watching, with Bredesen out there trying to catch passes.
Right.
So it sucks. It's unfortunate, but we like JJ McCarthy's in a good situation in the NFL. Cam Ward's in a bad situation with Tennessee Titans. I don't know who's better, but Cam Ward's going to be judged by what he does in a horrible situation. And Bryce Underwood's in a horrible situation. And I just thought he would, still pop no matter what. He would still, he would just be a gamer and make some plays in the Ohio State game.
Right.
And that's what was concerning to me, is just didn't do anything to help us in that game.
No.
Couldn't have that one big time throw. Couldn't have that one big time run. I'll be honest. We debated the running thing. Maybe he's just not the athlete we thought he was. I don't know. I don't see him as a super dynamic runner right now. He's a good runner, not game breaking speed, not a Cam Newton strong. It kind of seems like he's kind of somewhere in between those 2 type of things, which is kind of the worst spot to be. Right. And so to me, if he's not the athlete that we thought he was, I don't see him being Tom Brady picking you apart in the pocket.
Right.
So to me, I worry about, I don't want to call him a bust because, man, let's get him some coaching first. Then I could truly judge him. But I don't know how you could look at this first year and say it's anything but disappointing.
Yeah. Well, you said Sherrone Moore is not getting fired. And we all, I think, agree on that. But we also can offer our opinions. And I'm having my hesitations on, really, was that the good move? Yeah, it was the politically correct thing. You bring in the guy that Harbaugh recommends, but I think when we look back on it, I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's just setting back the program back to the Rich Rod days and the coaches beforehand. I mean, they had 9 wins this year, but it wasn't a very pretty season. Maybe they'll pick up the win in the bowl game.
At least Brady Oak, it was like, you wanted to root for the team. He was a likable guy.
Yep.
There was some fun to the team. Like, you had Denard Robinson. You had Devin Gardner that makes some plays. This team was so boring and tough to watch that, like, you almost didn't even care they were winning. Like, again, they didn't win a single game that was worth anything in salt. Their best win was Nebraska? Nebraska ended up being horrible. Their team's transferring out as we speak.
Right.
So it's just, what do you like? I would rather them, go for gold and go air raid or something, and maybe they go 8-4 instead of 9-3. But at least it was entertaining to watch. Maybe it could have been the Bryce Underwood show, and it just was nothing. It was bad, and
it was nothing. And you watch other teams. I mean, even teams like Vanderbilt, and Diego Pavia is going to be a Heisman favorite, and he's throwing all over the place. Obviously, other Ole Miss and Texas with Arch Manning and other schools, Ohio State always does. And, maybe Michigan isn't ever going to go that full on, like you said, air raid, but you need to do more, especially when you have a quarterback like Bryce Underwood. And, it worked with Jim Harbaugh because when Harbaugh was there those last few years, they had the best offensive line in the country and like 2-3 running backs deep. So unless maybe with all these freshmen, maybe the offensive line develops and they can get back to that. But if you're going to bring in a Bryce Underwood, why are you not going to let him loose is my thing. And I said it, I don't know, a week or two ago, maybe a few weeks ago. And you were kind of saying at the top of this, Jared, I just don't like Sherrone Moore's demeanor. I think the jumping around in the tunnel and going crazy, it just seems fake, because then when it's on the sidelines, I don't think I ever see him show emotion during the game. I mean, Harbaugh used to, he'd be in the ref's ear and going crazy. I don't know, not that you have to do that, but it's just weird to see him so fired up before the game, but then during the game, like nothing. And then even after the game, there was that weird exchange with Ryan Day where Ryan Day's telling him, like, we got to get your players off the field. And Sherrone's just kind of like, okay, yeah. And I'm just like, his demeanor is odd. And then I think I meant like in those interviews with Brad Galley, with ABC in Detroit that he does. Right. It's awkward. And it's not Harbaugh awkward. Harbaugh was just a weird dude. And
he is
but the Sherrone ones are just, I don't know, awkward. And
it's a Harbaugh impersonation is what it feels like.
It does feel like he's trying to run a Harbaugh program.
Yes.
But he's not.
Without Harbaugh.
Right.
There's one Harbaugh. You can't do it's almost like if somebody came into Iowa and said, we're going to keep doing what Kirk Ferentz is doing.
Right.
They're so unique and they're so good at what they do that you can't just say we're going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And the thing about that's what Sherrone Moore for very first thing you said, right at the start, man. Basically, they have 6 freshmen starting. They're young. They're going to be good. This is Michigan. This isn't the NIL or this isn't the College Football World of 2005 where you have to, try to spark a match in the recruiting trail and hope that it all comes together. This is Michigan. You have more money than anybody. We should be only playing juniors and seniors. Like Bryce Underwood probably shouldn't have been playing this year. We shouldn't be starting freshman offensive linemen hoping that they pan out in 3 years. Nobody else is doing that. Like, we're going to hope these guys pan out. So basically what I'm understanding is, okay, now we're going to be having all these sophomores next year. We're still going to suck. We're still going to be playing against the Diego Pavias of the world that are in college for 6 years. Ohio State's going to bring in another loaded recruiting class in the portal on top of what they already have. We're going to be in the same boat that we're in now. It doesn't make sense to build a roster that way anymore. I don't mind having, for some freshmen that you hope develop. Like, Andrew Marsh, he needs to be on the field. Bryce Underwood, sure. I can understand why let's roll this guy out. But having a freshman offensive line, having no pass rush whatsoever, they're not even freshmen, they just suck. Right. That to me is a recruiting problem. Sherrone Moore lights up the recruiting trail, but to be honest, he should be spending more time in the transfer portal. That's the world. We have 100%. More money than anybody. We should just be taking proven guys and say, we're going to give you another $1 million more than anybody else can offer you. Come and play here. That should be our strategy. Not let's hope and pray like it's 2005 and we got Tim Tebow as a freshman at Florida, hoping it pans out in a few years. No, this is go win now. We have the resources to do it. This isn't Michigan State where they have nothing to work with, which we'll talk about them. Where they have nothing to work with, and you have to hope you hit on some underdogs. This is Michigan in the NIL world. Dusty May, look at Dusty May. I love Dusty May, man. That he is doing it the right way. I'm going to go get the best guys in the portal every year. And basketball is different than football. But look at what he's doing in 1 year with the resources Michigan has. Turned it around in 2 seconds. Look at what Signetti's doing in 1 year at Indiana. Turned it around in 2 seconds. Sherrone Moore has had 2 years at the primetime job in college football, other than maybe Alabama. And we're hoping and praying that freshmen pan out in 3 years. We're praying that we get 10 wins in a bowl game, which apparently matters to him. He said that in the post-game presser as well. Who cares? You lost any game worth anything. So I don't know. To me, that's where it's like we just have lost the plot on the recruiting trail and how to actually build in today's world. And that was what I thought his strength was. I thought he understood the NIL world. That's why he got Underwood. That's why he got Justice Haynes. But my God, his post-game presser comments make me realize we're in for another year of hell, I think, next year.
Save that clip right there. That's a mic drop, Jared. You were all over it. That was perfect, man. I couldn't agree more. And I was going to add one other thing when we're talking about Sherrone Moore, like here we are piling on, but Jim Harbaugh, his clock management, I can't remember him having issues, and it seems like every single game, Sherrone doesn't know what's going on.
Either he doesn't use his timeouts going into halftime, or he does at odd times, like he called the timeout against Ohio State 3 seconds before the 2-minute warning.
Unbelievable.
No,
and it was just
unbelievable.
Why are you calling that timeout? So, and you know, I've seen people say he's a first-time head coach, you know, like he's still learning. It's like, I don't know if Michigan should be hiring a guy that's learning on the job in, you know, today's college football world, where, I mean, you got to win now. You don't have 3-4 years to build a program. Like all right, you have one rebuilding year, and then you better start winning, you know, and it's also like, just, I think we all kind of said it. It's how they've looked in the losses, you know, even in some of the wins, but it's how they look in the losses. I mean, that game against Ohio State, they just, even though the score was close for like basically a half,
they turtle. It's weird. It's
almost like you could almost tell once Jordan Marshall was hurt and it was clear like he probably wasn't going to be able to go. It's almost clear that Ryan Day in Ohio State was like, dude, we got this. Like, just let's load the box on the run. I think one of their players post game even said, you know, someone asked him like, what was the strategy against Bryce Underwood? And he was like, make him play quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, let's load the box against the run. Let's make Bryce play quarterback. And I mean, Ryan Day, Ohio State did the ultimate Michigan drive at the end of that game. It was like a 20-play drive that took off like 8, and there was just like run 8 yards, run 6 yards, run 6 yards, and it was just like, this is actually pitiful what's happening right now. That we are like so far removed from what Harbaugh built that it's almost like you almost don't, that 2023 season with the national title almost seems like so far away at this point. And it just like Ohio State is way up here, and right now anyway, Michigan is just not even in the same class now. Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. Let's see what they do next year, you know, with the development. Hopefully they get some guys in the portal, because I think next year they have one of those weird schedules where they have 8 home games and 4 away games. Wow. So, you know, next year it's there. And if we're in the same spot the weekend after Thanksgiving and we're having the same conversation on this podcast, it might be also a head coaching search.
Which who wouldn't hate that, man? I'm in favor of it. Like I said, even if they make the playoff next year, I'm ready for new blood. I'm ready for somebody else. I'm ready for that new hot shot in like a Lane Kiffin type hire. Obviously, maybe not him, but I'm already past it. I'll root for him, you know, because Michigan and we love them. But I don't know. I'm about as far out on this program as you could be. What'd you guys think of the guarding of the M? So I was down there on the sidelines. I kid you not. It's funny how you're like, yeah, the game was over. Second they went down, you know, second like Haynes went down, or not Haynes, Marshall went down. It kind of felt like that in the fourth quarter, where I seriously think that they were just prepping for a melee the last fourth quarter rather than playing the game. Right, and they're just running out the clock. I don't know what the hell's going on offensively, you know, just basically accepting defeat rather than airing out Underwood, which second they did air him out, he nearly threw a pick 6 very first play.
Right.
But no, I swear, like, you got players that are injured, grabbing helmets and like prepping for war. And how that played out in post game, they're guarding the M. That shot that Fox had, talk about a cinematic shot where they're guarding the M in the foreground, and then in the background you have Ohio State like celebrating in the stands. That was an awesome shot.
It was.
What did you guys think of the guarding of the M?
A little goofy. I mean, like, I get it, you know, the rivalry thing, but it's almost like you're making something out of nothing. I mean, it seemed like maybe maybe Ohio State had a conversation before the game of like, listen, we're not doing anything. I know emotions, you know, whatever, go celebrate with your friends and your family and all that, but we're not doing the flag. We're not doing any of that. And then Michigan like made it into something,
right?
You know, and I get, you know, maybe they thought Ohio State was going to try and plant the flag. Okay. I get that. But sometimes, you know, you make a mountain out of a molehill, and it seemed like it wasn't going to be anything. And then Michigan kind of made it into something.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's just stupid, man. I mean, you got beat on the field. If they want to come plant their flag, plant the damn flag. Who gives a shit? You just got beat on the field. What are you doing?
To me, it kind of undid the planning of the, like, think about what we said last year when we planted the flag and Ohio State freaked out. You got a Jack Sawyer.
Yeah.
Your season's over. When we were like, what are these babies doing? You had 68 minutes to defend the field. and now you're going to freak out and lose your mind over planting of the flag. Like, if you're a Michigan fan, you were hoping that they planted that flag so that we can go see you're just like us. You're scum, just like us.
Right.
And by them guarding it, one, you got Ryan Day basically alphaing Sherrone Moore. I don't know what that conversation was. It was bizarre. It was weird.
It was bizarre.
But
I think Ryan Day is definitely puffing his chest out right now. I mean, I saw some people say too, it's almost like, I think Michigan, hopefully, again, trying to stay positive here, not crash out. Maybe Michigan and Sherrone Moore needed this because for so long, since Sherrone Moore, it's only been a couple of years, he's been able to hide behind, I won all the games when I stepped in for Jim Harbaugh. I beat Ohio State. In the first season as head coach, it didn't go well, but I beat Ohio State on the road. So I almost feel like he's been able to hide behind that this whole time. I got Bryce Underwood as a recruit. Mm-hmm. So when he goes on the road and loses to Oklahoma, it's like, okay, cool, no big deal, but still undefeated against Ohio State. Oh, he goes to lose to Lincoln Riley and USC. Okay, but still undefeated against Ohio State. Now it's like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, Ryan Day just whooped your ass basically in the big house, and then walked out to midfield and like treated you like a little kid and was like, get your players off the field. So it's almost like a look in the mirror moment, like kind of like everything we've been saying. Okay, you're crushing it on the recruiting trail, but it's clear whatever you're doing is not working. You need to upgrade the offense. You need to do a lot more.
Would a Jim Harbaugh team be doing that? Having equipment managers wheeling out carts onto the midfield? Like, what a stupid... Again, I kind of loved it just because it's a rivalry, and why not? It was the only entertaining thing other than the first 5 minutes of that game that was somewhat entertaining.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about that. The first 5 minutes of the game was like, hey, we might actually do this again.
Right.
Field goal. I mean, again, they couldn't get in the end zone, but, field goal. And then the second pass of the game, interception. It was like, holy hell, we might actually do this again.
I had to punch one of those in, man. And you wonder, like, we'll talk about Dan Campbell's fourth downs. And you had to take those field goals in the Michigan game, but man, you're almost like, you needed to score. You needed to capitalize on those. Maybe we go for 2 4th downs, get one of them and score one of those touchdowns just to send a message. Because that was almost like a slow death from that point on. One last thing I'll say about it. Did you guys actually think that this team was like, I'm listening to Joel Klatt, I'm listening to everybody say it, this team is an improvement from last year, we're better than last year. I don't know how people can say that. We had a tougher schedule last year. We were a better team last year. We just didn't have a quarterback. We had a zero at quarterback. We had NFL talent everywhere. They would have put up more of a fight against Ohio State yesterday with their team last year than we did this year. And they scored more points last year against Ohio State than we did this year. Where are people getting that we're so much better this year? We had no pass rush. I didn't see it.
I mean, it's probably just simply, the wins, but then also like quarterback, even though we just kind of hammered Bryce Underwood, quarterback play was better, so it's like probably just basically that. I think the biggest thing is, the defense obviously last year was incredible.
A lot better.
A lot better. But I think it's the leaders too. I mean, you had guys like Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, even though people like to take shots at him. Donovan Edwards was on the team last year. He's a leader. You had these guys that came over from the Harbaugh, those last few years of Harbaugh, and they, senior leaders and talent, NFL talent, even though Will Johnson didn't play a bunch last year, he was on the roster. This team doesn't have it. So who's going to be those guys, going forward? I think that's a big question.
Absolutely. Well, before we close out college football, we do have to talk about a few other things, obviously, and then we'll get to our thoughts on the Lions. But Michigan State, picked up a win in Jonathan Smith's last game, but they hired my man, Pat Fitzgerald. I guess I wasn't completely foolish, or maybe I was. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Let's start with the Pat Fitzgerald thing. You initially said Pat Fitzgerald to Michigan.
I still would be. I'd take him right now over Sherrone Moore.
I probably would too. I think Pat Fitzgerald, I don't think he's going to be, have Michigan State as a national champion contender. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a decent chance of beating Michigan over the next 2 years.
For sure.
As long as more, Michigan's going to play with everybody. Michigan can really blow out just about anybody this year because of how they play. So Fitzgerald's going to probably be able to do that type of style better than Michigan can. I think it was about as good of a hire as you could hope for. I mean, to me, it all comes down to NIL. And who he hires as offensive coordinator is going to be a big deal to me. If he's going to try to do the 1930s offense at Michigan State, it's not going to work. He needs to, go find the next hot shot offensive coordinator, the Charlie Weiss Jr. I don't know who, and bring his offense to the 21st century. Not what we watched at Northwestern. Then again, like if you're a skeptic of this hire, you look at his last few years at Northwestern. They were horrible. They were horrible.
Right.
Does anybody know the exact record? What was it, like 7-20
like
or
7
something
and
like
29 or something
that?
crazy.
Yeah, holy hell, man! So
Northwestern, though, to be fair, that's Northwestern, and he did have 100%. Some success there prior to that.
Here's the thing: he's the upgrade over Jonathan Smith. It's a win. The fact that they just fired Jonathan Smith and moved on.
Right.
It was looking like they weren't going to do that. I honestly was surprised that they ended up doing that at the end of the year. So to me, whatever Fitzgerald does is a bonus, because at least you saw last night at the Michigan State basketball game. He's got some life. He's got some juice. Jonathan Smith was just a dud in every sense of it. So I'm glad they moved on. They seem to be, this whole For Sparta campaign they have going, to revamp their stadiums. I think give a boost to NIL. Like that's big time news for Michigan State. So I think it's a big time win of a weekend for Michigan State. Personally,
one other comment just slip in there. Fitzgerald knows the meaning of Michigan State, Michigan, where Smith did not.
Yeah, I mean, Smith said that after the first time they played. He's like, "Well, I didn't know this was that big of a deal." It's like, all right, they should have fired him after that comment right there, for being honest. So, 100%, Pat Fitzgerald is an upgrade over Jonathan Smith, and who knows? Maybe Jonathan Smith goes elsewhere and he has some success as a head coach. Who knows? But it was not working in East Lansing, and that alone, Pat Fitzgerald understanding the Big Ten, understanding Michigan State, and, just understanding the landscape of things alone is an upgrade. He wasn't that great at Northwestern, though. That's the one. He was 1-9 versus Michigan in his career at, Northwestern versus Michigan. Not good. That's not going to cut it. If he has, you have to be at least 500 as a Michigan State head coach. D'Antonio obviously exceeded that. Jonathan Smith was not, so it's not going to cut it. And then, like you said, Jared, he's got to bring his offense into this century, because those last few years with Northwestern, again, like you said, Ted, it was Northwestern, but Northwestern had some, it was a solid program. The offense was anemic those last few years when he was at Northwestern. I mean, it was actually like pitiful. So he's got to do some of that kind of stuff. Everything we were just saying about Michigan and Sherrone Moore, it's similar stuff. You got to upgrade your offense. And I think the biggest thing is what you guys just said. Pat Fitzgerald is a good coach. He's going to recruit. He's going to get guys in there. He's going to change the culture. He's going to make them play tough, all of that stuff. But Michigan State has to give him some support with NIL. I mean, people have said that. They don't, even the basketball program doesn't get much support with NIL. The football program gets even less than the basketball program. So it's like, yes, with that campaign that they're throwing out there, $1 billion investment to upgrade the football stadium, the basketball stadium, and NIL, that will help, because you can bring in the best coach in the world, but if you in today's college football, if you're not giving them some NIL support, it's not going to matter. So, are they going to pay the money? Are they going to pay a $15 million quarterback, like Bryce Underwood? Maybe not. But you got to be able to get some guys in the portal and some big recruits, because I don't care how good of a coach you are. Like, you're not going to win just with 2 and 3 stars. You got to get a couple 4 and 5 stars. So no, 100 Michigan State fans should 100% be excited, because he's an upgrade alone over Jonathan Smith. I think I saw a 5-year deal is his initial contract. They need to get at least 5 years, like minimum 5 years.
Pretty reasonable contract. I don't know if you looked at the details, like $5 million the first year with incentives, and it step ladders up from that. Right. Seemed like a pretty good compromise for both the coach and the school.
And you got to think too, he's probably, with everything and how it ended at Northwestern, he's probably got, like, he's probably pretty hungry as
Fire
a head
in
coach.
The belly.
He wants to come back and prove himself, and want to get back to it. So there's that side to it too. Honestly, I think Sherrone Moore at Michigan, they need to be looking at that and being like, okay, yeah, like on paper right now, I think Michigan's like the number 12 recruiting class. Okay, but we better step our shit up, because Pat Fitzgerald isn't going to back down, at Michigan State. That's right. So and Ohio State obviously is up here. So.
And look at that. I mean, that Michigan State game was closer than what the score read. I mean, if that what was a strip fumble, we can admit it. If that was upheld and not whatever, for basically a fake offsides penalty, like, that game might be different. So, and that's with Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs at quarterback. Like, my God. The one thing that's a bummer with Fitzgerald is, like, if he was just jumping ship from Northwestern, he could Signetti it and bring 15 best players from Northwestern with him. So he's got to basically start from scratch, and that roster is bad. You have Nick Marsh entering the portal. I'll be honest, when I first heard the Nick Marsh news, I thought people were talking about Andrew Marsh. I'm like, okay, good. He realizes this offense is so stuck in 1900s at Michigan that he needs to jump ship. I'm glad that Andrew Marsh isn't leaving, but I was like, at least maybe this will wake this offense up. Anyway, but with Nick Marsh, you got to get him back. That's the first problem. It looks like the quarterback, who was a stud, somewhat of a stud near the end of the year for Michigan State, was at his introductory press conference. So you would think he's coming back. So that's a big win. But they got to improve that defensive line. They got to improve that offensive line. They got to get better in the trenches. That's for damn sure.
Yep.
What do you guys make of the Lane Kiffin debacle? To me, people are going to crap on Lane Kiffin. He definitely could have handled it better. This is a calendar issue, and we keep throwing out the calendar. Can the NCAA solve anything? Can they do anything? We all know how the calendar should be aligned. Maybe you start the season a few weeks earlier and you end it, between Christmas and New Year's Day. Why are we still having this calendar set up how it is? Lane Kiffin, he wanted to see the season through with Ole Miss. He couldn't. And the athletic director obviously couldn't let him finish out the season. The fact that he thought that was possible was crazy.
Yeah.
And he definitely was, kind of how he just sort of, was like almost teasing that he was going to leave throughout the course of the year, never truly saying yes, never truly saying no. That definitely could have been handled better. But to me, he looks sexy in the LSU colors. I mean, they're going to be good. I do think it is kind of going back on everything he's claimed he's like done the last 6 years at Ole Miss. I'm a changed man. I'm this, I'm that. That kind of is out the window now. You're kind of the same guy you always kind of were. I don't blame you. I mean, it's LSU, man. Who the hell wouldn't want to coach there? But to me, it's a more of an indictment on the NCAA than it is on Lane Kiffin. He just happened to be the guy that kind of was stuck in this situation.
Right.
With a first-time a playoff team where you have to leave a playoff team.
Right. As a head coach, we've seen coordinators leave. And actually, when he was the OC at Alabama, he was fired before the playoff because he was going to go coach at FAU or whatever. Right. But yeah, we've seen coordinators leave, but not head coaches. And I think that's what everyone is saying. It's a calendar issue because you have to. I mean, you can see his side. If he has the opportunity to go to LSU, it's hard to turn that down. But he also wants to see this season through. So, but then you can see Ole Miss's side where it's like, no, if you're going to leave us, no, go now. We'll figure out the playoff ourselves. So you can see both sides. It's just, it's almost like you have to come down to not calling these players student athletes anymore, because that's where the winter semester starts. After the holiday, like in January. So the players that are transferring, the players that are going to a different school, they've got to pick their new schools and stuff before then. And when the playoff is going through January, the schedule is just all messed up. So like you said, Jared, start the season 2 weeks earlier, maybe even reduce the regular season by a game or something. If you do that, and then you still have the conference championship weekends, and then, the playoff can be through December, finish it on New Year's weekend, whenever New Year's Day can be the national title game. Guys can transfer, you do all that, boom, you can be at your new school by the time the next semester starts. Or you just go ahead and say, these football players aren't student athletes. They're making millions of dollars anyway. They can transfer, they can do whatever they want to do. Maybe you go that route.
It's a sad state of affairs in college football for this to happen. I mean, a playoff team, a legitimate, let's face it, they could win the national championship. And I know who I'm rooting for now. It's Miss. I hope they pull a Steve Fisher, man. It's the same thing that happened at Michigan in '89. Frieder says, well, I'm taking another job, but I want to take this team in the playoffs. And Bo said, F you, you're not coaching this team. And Mississippi had to do that, but it's just pitiful that it came to this. It's the NFL has it at least figured out a little bit, where they can't jump for a certain period of time. And it's a travesty, man. It's like you said, Jared, right at the beginning. The NCAA has absolutely no clue what's going on, and they got to fix it because, as you said, Matt, student athletes, come on. Okay, they're student athletes, but let's face it, they're NFL B. I mean, they're paid big time money nowadays. What's the calendar got to do with it? Either fix the calendar or make an exemption for football players. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Yep. Yeah. It seems like maybe there's going to be a conversation, but we know how it goes. TV money and all the contracts and all the money involved. I mean, they won't make a big deal about it unless all of a sudden it starts happening a lot. But
is Are they worried? Like, what is the barrier to, let's just say, start the season first week of August? Is it they're worried about viewership? Is it it's the student athlete type thing?
I would
What
think
is it?
I would think the school schedule, because most colleges aren't in session yet. So can you have the players playing games when they're not even, classes haven't even started yet? I mean,
Why
I would
not?
think,
Yeah.
But why not?
why not? But I would think that's the reason. I would assume.
Yeah.
I would assume that's the reason. But yeah, even if you moved it up a week or two, that would maybe help. But
Right.
Yeah.
because the
Or
other
just
side of
give-
this too is like this is all affected, the playoff is affecting conference championship weekend, because like conference championships, the championship games are becoming less significant, because right now Ohio State, Indiana, like, yeah, it'd be cool to win the Big Ten, but it's not really affecting the playoff. It's going to affect their seed. And like a team like Alabama, they're in the college, or they're in the SEC championship game, and they're on the edge of the playoff. And it's like, if they lose to Georgia, they could potentially be knocked out of the playoff. And it's like, you're going to penalize them for making their championship game and losing, where other teams can just sit, like Ole Miss, they can just sit and make the playoffs safely. And so there's a lot of weird things going on right now with college football.
It's greed. It's the greed. I'm just going to make the one comment. I've never been a proponent, especially with today's day and age of the playoffs. They don't need these conference championship games. Indiana and Ohio State, co-Big Ten champs, period. That's it.
Yep.
I'm with you. It's stupid. Like, I mean, I'm not going to enjoy these games, yes, but it also is like, it is like stupid. It's screwing Alabama, but also it's kind of screwing the viewership, where it's like, think about BYU, Texas Tech. It's like, let's say BYU loses by 30 to Texas Tech, then you go, well, how could you penalize them for being in the conference championship game?
Right.
It's so you go back and forth. It's not a perfect system. It's entirely subjective. I don't care if the group of 5 thing. I do like that. That's a wrinkle. JMU has no right stealing a spot over a Vanderbilt. I mean, tell me who we'd rather watch, JMU or Vanderbilt with Pavia. And it looks like Vanderbilt's going to be on the outside looking in. And then you even look at Texas with Sarkisian. I see his point of view. Like, why? These games are never going to happen again under the current system, which Michigan plays Oklahoma again next year. And then I think Texas the year after that. So it's like, man, we're probably going to lose both those games, and it's going to shaft us. And it kind of shafted us this year. If we were 10-2 and we don't play Oklahoma, we're probably in. I don't think we would deserve it, but we're probably in the playoff. So it's just a flawed system. I don't know what you do to fix it. I thought the 4-team playoff honestly was, I loved that setup.
Yeah.
The conference championships mattered. Yes, you had some teams get screwed. Even that was subjective. Like, I didn't like what they did with Florida State, where they left them out. But I kind of understood that. To me, if they actually fault Ole Miss for not having Lane Kiffin, that's also like very lame to me. I don't know. It's just
that's not their fault.
Yeah, the playoff it will rage bait you.
Right. The crazy thing is too, like talking about in conference championships getting an automatic bid. Duke is in the ACC championship game, and they're 7-5. So if you just flat out say automatic bid for winning your conference, what if Duke pulls the upset, and you're going to put in? So now you're going to put an 8-5 Duke in the playoff, like you said, taking away a spot from Vanderbilt or whoever. Like it almost is like going back to maybe the 4-team playoff wasn't that bad. Maybe that actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I don't know. Like last year with the 12 team, like the worst team that maybe somewhat got screwed was South Carolina, and even that wasn't egregious. It feels like there's going to be 2 or 3 teams that you're really going to look around and go, "Wow, how are they not in?"
And
Miami.
You know what's going to happen. We say it all the time. Greed.
Absolutely.
They're going to go up to probably 16 teams at some point, and then, God, I hope not, because I think 16 should be the max if they ever do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and in college football too, like you said, the group of 5, okay, we understand the whole March Madness and seeing the Cinderellas. It doesn't happen in football. If they go to 16 teams, I want the 16 top teams.
Right.
It's going to be competitive football.
If you're a group of 5 and you're ranked in the top 16, cool.
Okay.
You're in.
Yeah.
If you and it doesn't mean those teams can't make it. I mean, like a Boise State last year, they should have probably been. That was a good story. They had Heisman front runner for a lot of the year. They played Oregon very tough last year. Probably should have beat them at Oregon. Like, that's a team that deserves it. A JMU team that's not even good. Their coach just took another job. I know he's going to coach them through, but like I don't get it. I really don't.
No.
It shouldn't be an automatic bid. If they earn it, they earn it. I'm not opposed to that, but this team's not earning it.
Yeah, maybe they need to go to the Division II route, like Ferris State. They continue to roll 27 straight. You like that segue? They take on Minnesota State and Coach Hayden Fox Saturday at Ferris, 1:00. They just continue to roll, man. Their games are fun to watch. I mean, we had some text and radio silence. I wanted to watch the Michigan game live, but then I checked in the Ferris game afterwards. It's fun to watch. Good brand of football, and hope they can pick up a win Saturday.
Yeah, you're not ripping your hair out watching them play like you are with Michigan. You know that they're smart. You know that they're disciplined. Yeah, exactly. It's fun to watch a team like that. So I'm with you.
Go Ferris. All right, let's take a quick little break. I know we're running a little long, but we have to get some thoughts on the table of the Lions and the NFL right after this. Well, let's see. Let's start with Jared, Matt. Is that okay? Because I know it's going to be doom and gloom starting off with the Lions. 7-5, lose to the Packers, 31-24. Take it away, young man.
I mean, season's done. It's Brad Holmes, man. To me, it comes back to Brad Holmes. He slept through the deadline. The last couple drafts have really been duds. I mean, Terry and Arnold, if you want to call that a good pick, I guess you could. Other than that, I don't know what you point to. T-Slaw, even when, we got Jack Kennedy out there making as many catches as T-Slaw is, I know he caught a touchdown. So it's funny. As soon as he scored, my phone, that's not my new guy, that when he scores or something, while I hear about it. I'm the team. They're just not very good. I mean, who knew Ben Johnson was that damn good? I mean, I shat on him on his way out. I thought we'd be fine. You see what he's doing with the Bears. You see the creativity. They're scoring on the Eagles. 24 points. We couldn't muster up a first down. I felt like against them. Like, that was the magic elixir to this team. We will blame the offensive line. The offensive line is not as good as it once was. But you watch the Chicago Bears film, and people smarter than I are pointing this out. It's like you watch, it's like tight ends motioning in and blocking the nose guard. It's creative run scheming. It's creative play calling. When you watch Ferris State, they can run the ball on anybody. They have good offensive linemen, but it's not like they just have the best offensive line every year and it's sure will and force and dominance. No, it's play calling. It's keeping the defense on their toes. It's helping your linemen. It's counters. It's this. It's that. It's schematics. That's what we have nothing of right now. Dan Campbell seems somewhat lost in terms of making play. I mean, let's just talk about one little situation. 3rd and 3, hand off to Gibbs stuff. 4th and 3, hand off to Gibbs and stuff. Everybody on their couch is saying, what the hell is Gibbs doing in there? We've said it all year. They can't even figure out the running back rotation. So let's just extrapolate that out to the rest of the team. They can't figure out anything. Season's over, in my opinion. I know it's not technically over. They got a big game coming up this week on Thursday night, which will be fun. But season's over, in my opinion. Maybe this magical run is over as well. A lot of the players that we've counted on, Hutch, I mean, my God, he's wearing the Hutch hat on College game day and on the sidelines at Michigan. Who in God's green earth is going to go out and buy a Hutch hat? I saw Michael Jordan in his interviews with NBC or whatever, which they've got a lot of good content out of that one-day interview.
Right.
You saw about how everybody has a brand nowadays. In zero world does Hutch need a freaking brand. Who was wearing? Get to the goddamn quarterback, man. I know you don't have any help, but let's get a few sacks before we start worrying about the Hutch branded hats and jackets. It's just crazy. But yeah, season's, in my opinion, I'm doom and gloom. Season's over.
I'm not full doom and gloom because they can still make it. It's obviously going to be a tall task with the Cowboys on Thursday. Still play the Rams, and then obviously the last game of the year at Chicago. They basically have to go minimum 4-1 to make the playoffs. Ideally, you win out, but that probably not going to happen. But 4-1 is almost like the floor that you have to do to make the playoffs, and even that sounds tough. So. It's just there's so many disappointing things, and it's not like fire Brad Holmes, fire Dan Campbell. No one is saying that, but I think they both deserve some criticism this year with roster construction. You're never going to bat 1,000 in the NFL draft, but the 2024 draft class last year, because you can't predict injuries, of course. But there's been some pretty big swing and misses in the draft. Brad Holmes has hit on a lot of good draft picks, but there's been a lot of misses too. And it's showing up now because that's where your depth comes. You make some good draft picks. That's where the depth comes. Yeah. And they have basically no depth right now. They're trying to just bring dudes off the street, basically rely on Dan Skipper to come in as like the extra lineman. It's like, I think that fun is over, stuff like that. The offensive line is the big thing to me. I mean, Ben Johnson, obviously, that's obviously a loss. You can see what he's doing with the Bears. But the offensive line was elite when Ben Johnson was here. So that was probably helping him. Not probably, it was. And the offensive line has just been bad. And we've talked about it. We don't have to talk about it every week. But if the offensive line isn't good, Goff just doesn't have the mobility to get around and do stuff. He needs to be protected. That helps the run game. That helps a guy like David Montgomery. Everything. I think it almost all falls on the offensive line. And now you got guys, St. Brown's going to be out. I mean, he's probably not playing versus the Cowboys. And, Laporta's out, or the backup Brock Wright is probably out for the season. So we're bringing in who knows who to play tight end, and it's just like the season, it just keeps happening. Terrion Arnold out for the year. Talking about the Steelers released Darius Slay. They might bring Darius Slay back, which, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, cool, whatever. But it's just like, right. It just seems like the hits keep coming. And you have to wonder if, like, I remember there was a clip in Hard Knocks when the Lions were on Hard Knocks, and there was they were practicing like full pads early in the season. And Campbell basically broke down and was like, you guys got to trust me. Just trust me. I know what I'm doing. And I don't know if there's anything to this, but I've seen some people talk about, like, is the Dan Campbell like mindset actually like hurting the team? Like this whole gritty, we're the Lions, we're gritty, all that. Like, I mean, you just see all these, like, I mean, injuries just happen to everyone or every team. There just seem to be all these like nagging injuries, and Decker has just been dealing with injuries ever, last 3 years, and Ragnow can't even come back. That whole situation was just weird. Ratledge is banged up all the time. Sewell is now banged up all the time. And I've just seen people say, like, is the Dan Campbell like toughness mindset actually like hurting the team? I don't think so, but it just, I said it with Michigan. Maybe they needed this year Michigan needed that loss to Ohio State to basically say, like, all right, move on from the Ohio State thing. Maybe the Lions needed this. Maybe the Lions were starting to feel themselves a little bit. Oh, we made the NFC title game 2 years ago. Oh, we were the number 1 seed last year. We're the Lions. We're, new Lions. Maybe they needed a year like this to be like, okay, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were.
Yeah. And first of all, I'm not going to throw the season completely out. If they can make the playoffs, it's a successful season with what's gone down. 7-5 right now, looking forward. Okay. The whole Frank Ragnow thing, it kind of encapsulates their season this year. Yeah, he's coming back. And then how do you have a grade 3 hamstring problem when you're retired? What's going on?
Right. It's almost like, because then they even said, like, he said he was going to come back like a month ago. Yeah. So it's almost like he was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. I'll come back. So he went out and started trying to run and blew his hammy out.
I don't understand the whole failed physical thing either. Like, if it's your brain, like, okay, we have like serious CTE scans, like you can't, or your spine is all, it's a hamstring. I guess if he wants to play, why not let him? What's going to happen? Is he going to have to get his leg amputated? I don't know if it's that bad. Like, Like, can he just play through it? If he wants to, do it. But that was, you're exactly right. Perfect microcosm of the season. He's back. Yeah. Literally 2 minutes, in the Lions social media team, posting it everywhere, cheering everything. Photos of him coming out of the tunnel. Dan Campbell quotes in big bold letters. Yeah, we can't wait to have Frank back. Sure enough, he probably saw that. Probably saw that Packers game and took a knife to his hamstring and said, "Dude, I ain't doing this. I got to get out of this ASAP. Like,
probably
this team sucks. I'm out." And that's where we're at. And I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up. I'm with you. I think it's funny how I'm with you, Matt. It's like maybe you do start looking at this practice routine and go, "What the hell's going on?" Like this. It's funny how once you start losing everything, you kind of start thinking twice about everything. Yeah. When we used to go for it on 4th down, we would like cheer from your couch. Yeah, go for it. Now it's like Campbell's just shoving a square into a round hole, like with these 4th down tries. Dude, this offense isn't very good. You keep trying it. We're like, what are we, 0 for 7 in the last 3 games on 4th down? Yeah. Like he's coaching this team like we have the best offense in the league when we don't anymore. And now it's like, instead of cheering on these 4th down tries, we're almost like all just sitting back on our couch like, they're not going to get this. Like, why is he going for it? Why is he going for it? This doesn't make sense to go for it. It just was disappointing. I teased it at the start of the year, when Michigan lost to Oklahoma and the Lions got killed by the Packers. I can't go back to having 2 crappy teams in my football world. Who thought that heading into this year, that this is what we're going to be staring down the barrel of? Yeah, it seems like that's where we're heading. I hope I'm wrong. You hope Brad Holmes wakes up from his slumber and gets something done this offseason. Hutchinson needs help.
Right. That's a big thing.
We need to get a good offensive coordinator. It's time to hit the restart on Morton. I don't know if it maybe wasn't even a Morton problem, but he's my scapegoat. You're out. Once you lose the play calling duties, how do you bring him back?
Exactly.
Got to make a splash hire at OC and hope that they can really turn this thing around and nail the draft. It felt like we were just one more good draft away from really making a Super Bowl championship run, and we just never got that draft.
Yeah, hopefully they can move forward and learn some lessons from this year. Again, like I said, I'm not completely counting them out, but it is a little bit frustrating to watch what has happened to this point. But they're not alone. I mean, the Chiefs are 6-6. Look at the Commanders, 3-9, and Vikings. So, it happens in NFL football. The whole key is regroup for next year. And again, stay healthy. That's all you can do, right?
It's a big thing.
They got killed on the offensive side of the ball now this year, which is really hurting them. And again, I'm not so much against the fourth down calls. That's Dan Campbell, and I don't see that changing. But you got to make better calls. I mean, some of these play calls are just ridiculous. To run Gibbs into the line? Are you shitting me? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully, if they don't make the playoffs this year, it's a very big, all right, we need to make some moves on the roster, improve this roster a little bit, because this isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, and remember, we did look at the schedule at the beginning of the year, and it was pretty daunting. So,
I mean, I think we all kind of said 5-6-ish losses, and so that's kind of where we're at. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
All right. Before we get to the prep spotlight, we'll wrap up the program with the prep spotlight. The Pistons, another win, 17-4. I mean, once football's done, we'll get a lot more heavy into the Piston talk and college basketball talk because. Well, let's just keep it on the Pistons for a minute. They're playing really good basketball right now, and they take on the Bucks tonight. We're on Wednesday, recording this Wednesday morning. I mean, they just continue to play well, and they put together just a great roster that plays well together.
Bickerstaff's a great coach too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, I mean, we'll talk about it more. People are like, man, you guys, there's so much to talk about this week, man. It's a good week to do a pod. But Michigan basketball, Michigan State basketball, they are on a collision course for what should be an all-time great game. And is Duke Michigan State? That's this Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Noon. Tough timing, man, to schedule it, on a college football concert. I don't know why they're not playing that on a Tuesday or a Thursday night, but it is what it is. So we'll be tuned in. That'll be a great game too.
Yeah, and back to Michigan for a minute, man. What a performance in that tournament! Averaging 35-point wins and 3 big time matchups. That was awesome. They look good.
Those are gonna, because they're gonna end up dropping a couple games when the Big Ten schedule comes around. But those wins are going to be the ones on the Joe Lunardi resume that are going to be
Quad
noted.
one.
Right. And same with Michigan State. Usually they always have a tough non-conference schedule, but they usually drop a couple of these games, and then people start thinking is this a down year for Michigan State, whatever. But this year they're rolling. So yeah, Michigan State right now, they might be 2 of the top 4 teams in the country.
Absolutely.
How sweet is the Michigan State uniforms they brought back from the first Nike uniforms? I love those uniforms.
Yeah, they're sweet. That
Kalen Lucas wore, that Neitzel wore. I'm glad they brought those back. Those are cool.
Yeah. They know what they're doing to that basketball program. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our final break, have our prep spotlight, and move on right after this. All right, guys, prep spotlight presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency, local, independent, and trusted. The MHSAA had their football finals, which I didn't see any of the games since it was on NFHS. Maybe I will, because I'll be checking it out. I'll probably watch replays somewhere in the winter because I'm going to get the NFHS for Freeland basketball. But some good games, some bad games. I mean, in Division I, Detroit Catholic Central dominant, 42-19 over reigning champ Cass Tech to close out Sunday night. Wonder how many fans were left in the stadium there Sunday night late. Probably not many. In Division II, Orchard Lake St. Mary down Dexter 51-14. Another blowout. Dexter quarterback, though, Cooper Arndt, did manage to throw for 215 yards and finish the season with 45-23 on the season. That's just a mind-blowing number. In Division IV, probably the best game of the weekend, Dearborn Divine Child beat Hudsonville Unity Christian 23-22. I don't know if you saw the storyline on that one at all, but Unity drove downfield late for a game-tying PAT, and they ran a fake, and the 2-point conversion was picked off by Adam Garcia. I read some things online. I guess they hadn't really kicked the ball for PAT all season long. So if you scout a team and they run the kick team out there, it's a giveaway. They're faking it. So tough call there. In Division 5, Grand Rapids West Catholic, another blowout, 42-14. Jackson Lumen Christie, a good story here, 28-14 over Kingsley in the Division 6 final. It was the 15th state championship for the Titans and the 14th for Herb Brogan, the 4th straight. What a program they had. We've talked about that. In Division 7, Menominee drove 500 miles and defeated Schoolcraft in the Division 7 final. Think about that. 500-mile bus ride to Detroit.
Yeah.
And I think they run the single wing. And, again, a big win for Menominee. And in Division 8, Harbor Beach downed Hudson 31-20. But in our 3-Point Podcast prep performance of the week, man, I'll tell you what, when I did the DeWitt and Owasso game with Casey, I said numerous times on the air, just watching this DeWitt team, that was a state championship team, and they have a hell of a quarterback. Travis Moore set a finals record with 397 rushing yards and had 4 touchdowns to lead DeWitt to a 54-20 win over Mount Pleasant. That kid can play, and he's going up to CMU as of now. But, I mean, he put up some huge numbers this season.
Yeah,
we need to get Zimmerman in the freaking Michigan locker room, man. He seems to be a quarterback. He's had like 4 or 5 Division I quarterbacks, man, in the last 15 to 20 years.
Hell of a coach.
He's developing them like crazy there. So we need to get him to. Maybe we send Underwood to DeWitt for summer camp, right? See what happens.
7-on-7 drills.
Yeah,
that's quite the program over there. I know you've talked about it before, Jared, but man, they've been good for a long time. They were good back in my day. They were, good.
Yeah, that's a great school system without a doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, they got everything you could want if you're a high school player or high school student athlete in the Lansing area. Why not move to DeWitt, right?
Yeah, I saw the big story that we've talked about on the podcast before, but I mean, you rattled off the state champs there, DeWitt being one of the public schools that won, but
yeah,
big story. I saw a ton of chatter on Twitter about it. Was
every year
5 of the 8 state champions private schools.
Yep.
Only 3 public school state champs. I saw a stat that's kind of crazy. Of all the teams that made the playoffs, only 8.3% of the teams that made the playoffs were private schools, but 5 of the 8 state champions end up being private schools.
Kind of
so people are really, really starting to talk about we got to do something about this. We got to have separate, private school division and a public school division, however they do it, but seems to be picking up some more steam because some of these private schools are just absolutely dominating.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I hope it doesn't happen. Right? I don't hope it doesn't happen, but to me, it's still. I mean, look at those scores. 1 good game out of 8.
I know.
Right? What is man? It's almost like we shouldn't have 8 divisions. It's almost like there's not enough good teams to fill out an 8-game slate. Plus 8-man football, 2 divisions of 8-man football.
All right,
it's crazy, man. That's to me is the big issue is. If you drop down to 6, I think we would see a little bit better games where it's maybe not as many private schools. They're always going to be good, but it is what it is. I don't want to exclude them. I mean, are we all on the same page with that, or are you guys starting to change your tune? I guess.
No, I don't want to exclude them. I would say though that something needs to be looked at. I mean, I've seen different proposals out there. One of them I noticed was like if you're a private school and let's say you win the Division 6 state championship, you got to move up to Division 5 the following year, something like that. It's not a major penalty, but
I think
you still get to play.
What I've heard, my understanding is the one thing that's kind of dumb is if you're private, you can just transfer school to school, no penalty, you don't have to sit out at all. But if you do that for a public school, you have to sit out a whole another season in your sport. Right. So that should be aligned. Whatever, at the very least, that should be aligned for public schools where it shouldn't be basically an advantage to be private where you could have these basically super teams form. If you just, Lumen Christie's looking really good. I'm a junior. I'm gonna jump and play for them next year.
Right.
That should not be. That couldn't be allowed, but public schools should be able to do that too.
Right. Yeah, and there's probably no perfect solution because some people said, why don't you do 4 or 6 divisions of public and 2 divisions of private? But then you're going to have some really small private schools playing some of the bigger private schools. So there's probably not a perfect solution. I think honestly, you've talked about it, Jared, just going down to 6 divisions overall.
Right.
It might make for a little more parity and, some better matchups in the playoffs and the finals. Cause you don't want what's supposed to be your showcase of your sport, state championship weekend, just a bunch of blowouts.
Yeah. I mean, even I was going to mention it in Division 7, it has nothing to do with the private and public conversation, but probably the state championship game was Menominee and PW. One hell of a game.
Exactly.
And it was in the semis.
What do you guys think of so I'm like, I didn't watch a second of the coverage. I knew that it maybe wouldn't be as this is my field, so I don't want to probably some people don't even care. I don't think DeWitt's like, man, I wish it was on FanDuel and not NFHS. I don't know if that's the case, but I would agree with you. I didn't see anything on social media. Like, it was almost like a tree fell in a forest and like nobody heard a sound. Like, I don't this DeWitt quarterback's performance, that should be targeted to my Twitter feed.
Absolutely.
Seeing highlights of this kid and seeing his stat line and hearing that he's committed to CMU, I saw none of that. It's like, that to me was the big difference, was we just didn't have the same Twitter social media presence where we could follow the state finals in that same way.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the only stuff I really saw was like from some of our guys, like Snooze was down there, and Tyler from Football Frenzy. I saw some of his tweets, but otherwise I didn't see much else.
Yeah, and they weren't allowed to show any highlights either. I know I saw one of them. He was showing Dexter. They had like 11,000 fans down there, and he had to show his video of the fans. He couldn't show it on the field.
So that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
that's why. That makes zero sense. That makes zero sense why that's the case.
Yeah, why can't you show a clip
MLB?
of a score?
Like, who cares about sharing it? What?
Right.
NFHS must have had the rights to it or something, but you would think that you'd be like, no, we want to promote this as much as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was probably filming Ferris State illegally when I was in the end zone and Wyatt almost ran me over, but I took my chances.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. We got a full day ahead of us yet. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, especially our top sponsor, Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Follow the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center on Facebook. Download their app, and they got a big challenge coming up to start the new year. And everybody at this time of year is looking to join a health club, and I'd highly recommend joining Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Our other great partners include AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Nichols Painting, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, the Shiawassee County Fair and ALS of Michigan. The first Z92.5 game of the week in boys basketball coming up this Friday, December 5th. Corunna travels up the road to take on the Chesaning Indians. Join Casey and Joe for that call Friday night. That'll do it. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening.